two boys here, eh? Just me and Chris.
for today.
Yeah, just for today. So introduce myself. I'm Dan. This is Chris, and this is the first Boys podcast. Um, we're here basically. We're gonna want to go through variety of topics, the like stuff that's been meaningful to us throughout our lives, our childhood, and we thought with recent events of the final episode of Ash and Pikachu on Pokemon airing that Pokemon would be a great starting point since we grew up with it and still probably pretty prominent in all of our lives. So uh, let's kick it off. I'll kick it off by asking you first, Chris. Like, what's your first memory of Pokemon Ash and Pikachu?
Yeah, just going back to the first thing though. When I first read or seen that post, what was it? Maybe a month ago about Ash and Pikachu gonna retire from Pokemon. The first thing I did was send it to the group chat, and we had a quick chat about it. But then it really starts to sink in on you that you know those two characters were with us for our whole life. Like, really think about it. Like, even like,
26 years, I think.
yeah, growing up, we couldn't let them go. They've been such an important part of our lives growing up. So, like you said, we had to do this episode to just talk about the love for Pokemon. And then,
Yeah,
especially when the final episode aired in Japan not so long ago, maybe a week or so ago, you know, it just makes you sad to just think back to all the memories you had, and now those two characters are finally gone. But I want to throw
yeah.
this at you. I want to throw this at you before I answer your question. I know you're into a lot of pop culture. Where does Pikachu and Ash fall in that realm as cultural icons? Because we got to look and you got to think like those two, without a doubt, are the biggest anime characters of all time. Anyone from the
Yeah,
last 25 years, they might not know Ash, but they know of him, but
Pikachu.
definitely Pikachu.
I
Where do
mean,
you
everybody
think
at least
they
recognizes
fall
the
as
image.
icons?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I would say it's right up there with freaking anything. Batman and Robin. I mean, like leading up to this, I did a little bit of research and actually found out that like I wasn't even aware of this. Pokemon is the highest grossing media franchise ever. Like, period. Like, they've grossed $77.1 billion in total revenue since it started. It only started in '96. That's more than something like Mickey Mouse, who's been around since the '20s. Like, it's insane, and like those two characters are integral to those profits. Like,
Yeah,
it's crazy. I'm almost shocked that they decided to wrap it up. Like, those characters, like I always assumed that those characters would run on forever. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of growing up with those characters. Like, Ash was kind of the person that you saw yourself as growing up, and like the animation style and the voice and stuff. I think it worked for boys and girls. Like, I think both genders could relate to it and stuff. You could see yourself as that character going through that journey. I think all of us as kids fantasized about that like Pokemon trainer journey from like picking your first starter Pokemon all the way up to like the Pokemon League, just like the games were formatted the same way as the show. Like, that was all of our fantasies as kids, right?
exactly. Everyone's dream job was to be a Pokemon master, right? So
Yeah,
that was
exactly.
that was the dream. But yeah,
How many
my
times did you
first
go in your backyard and fantasize about Pokemon in the tall grass?
exactly right. But yeah, going back to your original question, my first memories of Pokemon, that's such a long time ago, man. But I do remember coming home from grade school, and me and my brother, and when we got home, it would be Pokemon, and then right after be Digimon and Dragon Ball Z, all in one.
Yeah,
So you were getting the three big hitters all at one
yeah.
time, and
That
you know,
legendary YTV run.
yeah, we just fell in love with Pokemon, right? It was just the most amazing thing ever, and we used to go to Zellers every week. Like, think about how old we're going back now.
Yeah,
We used to go to
so it's
Zellers.
back there.
Oh yeah, we used to go to Zellers every week, and my dad would buy us a Pokemon package each. And at that time, I think This is crazy. This is how young we were. We didn't even know anything about how rare cards were. The first pack my brother opened, he got a Venusaur.
Oh, is that right, eh?
Yeah. He got a Venusaur, and then the next day he came home, and he had sold the Venusaur. Well, traded it at school for $8, 8 Onyxes, and a bunch of energies, and a bunch of energy cards. And like
Nice.
we didn't know that it was gonna be such a big card,
Right.
right? Like such a
I
rare
love the
card, but
I love the Onyxes because Onyx was like the coolest common card.
yeah, it's funny with Onyx. How can that thing be defeated? Like if you really think
Yeah,
about it, like how can you beat that thing? It's a giant rock snake.
it's
But like
somehow it's really susceptible to water. Like it's funny
but
how like weak rocks are to water. I've never really understood that much. So is he
going
made of
back to that,
sand or rock?
yeah, it doesn't make sense. But going back to the story though, when we were at Zeller's, and then it came to a point where they released the fossil and jungle cards,
Oh
and
yeah.
my father obviously would buy us, 1 pack each, and every week, I don't know how this man, my brother, has the best luck pulling Pokemon cards. Every week, he would pull a holographic Dragonite. I don't,
How
I
good
don't
is
even know.
that?
Every week, it went on for about a month. So like, he would just pull a holographic Dragonite, and one time I got lucky and pulled a Moltres. But
Oh, is that
he-
right, eh?
yeah, that was he was good at pulling cards, man. He even pulled a Shining Mewtwo before. Like it's just crazy.
How much do you have any idea of value? Like, do you know how much the ballpark those cars are worth these days?
The originals are quite expensive because
Yeah.
remember I have that video. I haven't posted it yet of me finally finishing the base set.
Right, right.
So
Yeah, I knew you
I
had
would,
that.
yeah, like a lot of the way I got a lot of those cards where I ended up trading some of my old video game stuff. So I put an
Oh,
ad,
yeah.
an ad. So I ended up getting Alakazam, Venusaur, um, a lot of those rare cards for the games, and then I ended up buying Blastoise off eBay, and then I paid about 300 for Charizard.
Yeah, that was the big
Yeah,
one, right?
yeah. The
Yeah.
Shining Mewtwo though, the triple star Shining Mewtwo in good condition, that must be worth in the 400 plus for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
But
wild,
it's
man. It's wild the value of
yeah,
those things.
it's crazy though. Like as kids, I didn't take Pokemon cards seriously until I moved to Innisfil. Like that was in early 2000s when I moved up to Innisfil,
Right.
and then the kids here, the older kids on the street, my parents' street, they were taking cards seriously, and it was all about taking care of them, putting them in the binder cases, like. But we
Yeah.
never we didn't think about doing that stuff because you just had them in your hand, you show everybody. But those are my early moments of what I really remember of Pokemon is just watching the episodes every day after school and collecting the cards. It was just that was the thing to do. And then when you're at recess when you're young, you pretend you're the Pokemon and you're
Yeah.
fighting with
Yeah. I
you're,
remember doing a lot of that. Yeah, definitely.
you're fighting with your friends and and just having fun, no care in the world. Do you remember when you got first introduced to it? I know it's such a long time ago, but do you remember?
Uh, I don't like remember like specifics. I'm pretty confident that my first introduction was the TV show, though. I'm pretty sure I got into the show, and then from there, because I have an older brother, and he's the one that I believe told me that this is from a video game, essentially. And then I asked for my birthday for red, I believe, just because I didn't know the difference between red, blue, yellow. I think gold and silver might have been out by that time even, but I just wanted red because it had Charizard on it. So yeah, my grandmother got me that. I think it was my grandmother got me that, and that was my first introduction to the games. And but for me growing up, it wasn't even like I didn't play much of the cards. I don't even think I really understood how the card game worked. Really, my parents wouldn't buy them for me because I think they just looked at it like oh, this is stupid. I'm gonna spend this money on a piece of paper, which is hilarious now because the value
Yeah,
of them, it's of any of the Pokemon merchandise they could have bought, like that's the stuff that grew
yeah,
in value. Most other stuff probably just appreciated. But like yeah, it's funny. I never played with the cards, but I loved all the games. Like just growing up, obsessed with Pokemon Stadium and Snap, especially. Like Pokemon Snap was huge for me growing
yeah.
up. Like I was
That's
obsessed with that game.
those two
I loved
games
it.
are fantastic.
Yeah. Oh man, like I love the slight tie-in with the character from Pokemon Snap into the show and stuff like that, and like
Yeah,
just little things like that. And I always enjoyed Pokemon Snap mostly because I liked when I was a kid. I liked very passive games. It's just such a peaceful game. Like you just go through and you're in this
yeah,
fantasy
and
world
there were
with
so many
Pokemon.
Easter eggs, so you could just
Oh
keep on
yeah,
playing
totally.
Pokemon Snap and find something different every time you played it.
It's like this
So,
first person experience in Pokemon world is very like felt immersive for the time.
do you know what your favorite Pokemon game is of all time?
Like in hindsight, I probably have to say it's like the red blue. Yeah, because like that's what I would go back and play most now. I mean, my most
Yeah,
recent playing of Pokemon was playing Pokemon Blue on my Super Game Boy that my
yeah,
fiance got for me for my birthday 2 years ago. But yeah, but it'd have to be between that and Snap. Probably played a lot of Snap.
yeah. I
Me
know.
and Jervay beat Snap once.
Did you did you ever play the newer Pokemon Snap that came out a few years ago?
No, no. I mean, I'd love to try it sometime, but I don't have a Switch. I've never played
Yeah,
any like hard on Switch. You played
yeah.
that though?
I have played it a little bit, yeah, because my nephew's in all of the newer Pokemon games. But
Oh, nice.
I would say easily my favorite for sure is Fire Red because it's basically
Oh,
it's
I
basically the
forgot about
original.
those.
Yeah, it's the original, but it's kind of HD graphics. Not
Yeah,
HD, but
cleaned up
it's a lot better
and,
graphics than
and expanded. You get a little bit extra at the end and stuff.
yeah, and it just looks pretty. But
Yeah.
going back to the original question there, I got a quick story actually about getting my first Pokemon game. And
Oh yeah.
I remember walking in the Walmart and I was begging my dad, I want I want the Pokemon game. I want the Pokemon game. So on the shelf there was red and blue right beside each other. I'm not too sure if yellow was out at that time. It might have been because this would have been a little bit after, but I was begging for them, but we didn't have a Game Boy, right? We didn't
Right.
have Game Boys. So when I moved to Innisfil, where my parents still live, after everything was packed in the house, I came out on the steps. You know how my parents have the concrete steps going up,
Oh yeah. We
and
spent many times through there.
I was sitting there with my wrestling toys. So I was playing with my wrestling toys, and about three of the kids living on the street came up, and they ended up calling me over to come hang out. But they were all playing Game Boy Color, and
Oh.
I didn't have a Game Boy, so they were all playing Game Boy Color, and the one ended up being my really good friend until he moved. His name was Rick, and he had a single dad, you know, and a sister. So his dad always tried to give him everything he could, right?
Right.
So he always got the new stuff, and he says like, "Where's your Game Boy?" And I was like, "Man, I don't got one." And he's like, "Hold on a second, hold on a second." So he went inside, and he comes out with the gray brick Game Boy, and then he puts Pokemon Blue in it.
Oh
So
man.
we're all sitting there for hours just playing, and then we all get called inside, dinner time, whatever. So I give him back the Game Boy, and he goes to me, gives it back. He says, "I want you to keep the Game Boy, and you can keep Pokemon Blue."
Oh
So
man.
all night, you know what I was doing, man. I was up all
Yeah.
night playing Pokemon Blue, and then he ended up also giving me the light attachment. So I had the light
Oh, you
attachment.
needed that for that thing. You needed the
Yeah,
light
so
attachment on that
I had
thing.
the light attachment. I had Pokemon Blue. I was new to the game. I had wanted it for so long, and buddy, I can't tell you how many escape ropes I used going through those caves, man. But
My God, yes. Oh God. I think I went through the I'm it's embarrassing. I can't remember the name of it. I went through the one tunnel the first time I played through without flash.
oh god,
No
oh
guide. I thought that as a kid, I just thought you just had to find your way through like that. Like I just thought that's how it worked.
You're a sick son of a bitch.
Yeah, or a stupid one. I don't know, one or the
Yeah,
other.
but that's my story though of how I got my first ever Game Boy, right? And
That's
I
sweet. You know,
just think
there,
about
there's
that,
a
like that man gave me his Game Boy in Pokemon Blue.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. If
that's
it wasn't for
crazy.
him passing it forward, maybe you wouldn't.
Yeah,
Maybe you wouldn't even be into Pokemon.
yeah, but those are the guys, like I was saying earlier, that got me into really taking Pokemon cards seriously. So once I
Right.
started hanging out with them, it was really down to business with those Pokemon cards. Like we were ripping people off and trading,
Yeah,
kids
that
that
was the big
we
thing,
were
right? That
we were trading
that's
kids
why our
that
school
didn't know
band.
nothing about cards for
Yeah,
stars. We were giving them, circles and commons. And
yeah.
I'll bring up this story, and oh man, I feel horrible for this. This is really bad, man. And I want to apologize to all the kids that I made
Oh,
cry.
poor suckers had Elkona Glen Secondary School that you ripped off.
Oh yeah. So what we used to do, because we were in a grade 4, we were in the portables.
Oh yeah,
So I won't say his last name, but me and my best friend back then, Jordan, we had this scheme. So one of us would go to the bathroom. And in our school, for some reason, the classrooms would be there, but our book bags and coats would be outside in the hallway on the hooks. You remember that
yeah.
out going to Glen?
Oh yeah, no, I remember
So
that.
so one of us would go to the bathroom and scope out people's backpacks, and we would we would open we would open up people's backpacks, and then we would come back, and then we would tell each other, and the next guy would go and fucking teeth the cards. So
You
so
realize what you guys are, right? You guys are basically Team Rocket.
that's it, right? But we did it so much that I don't know if you remember. Remember, they made the announcement that you couldn't bring Game Boys or Pokemon cards back to school. So we were
Oh, and
the
then
we were the ones that
you got banned in Elkona Glen.
yeah, we were the ones that screwed everybody over for the Pokemon card.
Oh, they should have suspended you two.
They didn't
Then
know
and
it was
then
us.
the rest of us. Oh,
They didn't know
you
it
guys
was
got
us.
away. So you're not Team Rocket because you got away with it.
No, but dude, we were so like slick with it. We got so good and comfortable with it. What we would do is even out on the playground, we'd say, "Okay, hey, let me see your cards and have a look at it." So I'd be going through their cards, and I'd put the rare ones I wanted at the back, and then Jordan would come out of nowhere and bump me, and I'd drop all the cards.
Oh my God! Look at this.
But I would
Oh,
have I would have the rare ones in my hand. So when I went to go help the kid pick them up, I would slip it in the bottom of my shoe, and then I'd walk away on my tippy toes.
you guys are like little con men in like grade 4.
Yeah, like you said it right. It was Team Rocket. We were team. We were
Yeah,
the
I
ori-
don't know.
we were
Team
the
Rocket
original.
better than Team Rocket though. The Team Rocket doesn't get away with that kind of stuff.
But that's what.
I don't know. I don't think these are the teachings of Ash and Pikachu.
No, but that's what we were doing, right? And like I said,
Yeah,
I apologize earlier in the video for it, but that's
that was
just
rampant. I mean, you guys weren't the only ones. It's not like our school's the only ones that banned Pokemon cards for that reason, right? Like that was rampant in schools, or
yeah,
just
it was brutal.
playing for keeps, and then the kid goes home to his mom and is like, "He stole my card," and then it's just one kid's word against another.
Yeah, like even I got another my older brother Nick. So in our garage back then, we had, everyone had the early 90s, early 2000s had the sofa and the couch.
Oh yeah.
So we had the sofa and the couch, and all the young kids, we were all hanging out there, and our good buddy Sean that we haven't seen,
Oh, Sean.
he disappeared. We haven't seen him in how long have we
Friends
haven't
with
seen
us
that
since
guy for?
I don't know. He's friends with us since grade 2 and disappears. And when
Yeah,
we were in what 12 or
great.
11,
Yeah, grade 11 out of thin air.
just
Thin air.
gone one day at school, one day gone the next.
Yeah, even the teacher came up to us. Where's Sean? Oh, we have no idea. He's
Yeah,
like, really?
yeah.
But
school is aware of it.
Yeah, it's
I
weird.
don't know.
But my brother was just teasing him, right? So he had his Machamp, and Sean went crying home. And you know, as I know, and we've only met this man maybe 3 times.
Oh, I
Sean's
know where
dad.
this is going. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sean's
Just
dad comes into the garage with a baseball bat, going,
he
"I'm
was
ready to."
already without the baseball bat. This dude was already pretty
Yeah,
scary.
yeah, he was scary. Comes in with a baseball bat, swinging it at the walls, threatening my brothers and my parents' neighbor at the time. And holy fuck, all for this Machamp card. My brother was just joking with the kid, and that
Over
ended
a
up being, there was
it was
just
at the time. It was probably only worth like $8.
yeah. Well, remember when we were growing up, you would get holographic first edition Machamp in the cereal box.
Oh, is that right? Oh, that's why everybody had that. That's
Yeah,
why everybody had that card. Oh, I didn't remember that. No.
yeah. Let me ask you this, because we talked about pop culture and the significance of Pikachu and Ash.
Yeah.
What's your memories of the Pokemon the first movie dropping? Because I just remember that being so massive as a young
Yeah.
as a young kid, and like I remember going as the group on the street, and my dad was always the one had to drive us, and you go to the popcorn stand, you're already excited, and
Yeah.
back then they had the seasoning, so you'd put the free seasoning all over your popcorn.
Oh man, that stuff is
Then
just pure salt.
but then when you're walking up the steps to get your ticket punched, they give you the golden card. They give you
Yeah, what
that
was it for the
ancient,
first one? Mew? It was Mew,
yeah, they
right?
give you that ancient Mew. Do you remember
Oh,
anything about
oh,
your first memories of
yeah, I think it
Pokemon?
was honestly. I don't remember if it came out first or if Phantom Menace came out first, but one of the two was like literally the first movies I was ever excited for. I ever want like actively like went to my parents like we need to go see this. I need to go to the theater and see this. And I remember being so excited for it, and I remember it being complete torture for my mother sitting through it.
But think about it, like everyone in that theater was crying when the Pokemon were slapping each other, and we thought Ash was dead.
I could still cry as an adult watching that. Like I would, and I would like I don't I wouldn't even say 99%. I'm 100% sure that if my fiance watched that now, at any time she would cry watching that.
Yeah,
That
like
is
you already
one of
know.
the saddest things ever.
I've only cried 3 times in a movie or a show. Pokemon when that happened, and Hardball when G Baby died,
I knew you were gonna say that.
and then the episode when Ash lets go of Butterfree.
Oh
That
yeah,
was
I know that's a tough one too. I know that's one of David's favorites. That's
yeah,
what I
and
wish
then
David was here because he would have definitely talked about that episode.
David's Pokemon collection is insane,
Yeah,
and
he had
he's
more stuff
got
than
one
you
of
did, right? Like he
yeah he's got one of the rarest Pokemon pieces. Remember when I worked at Goodwill and I got him that banner?
Oh, the
That po-
banner. What was it
yeah
from?
that was like the Pokemon Championship banner. Like
Tournament, right?
that,
Like yeah.
yeah, that has to be a 1 out of 1. There can't be
Yeah.
another. There can't be another banner
Does
that
it have a
like.
city on it? It's like it was a regional tournament kind of thing, or like
Yeah, it's probably a regional tournament. When you walk through the first gates or something, it was just hanging there. But man, when that came in, the bag was. I remember I was working the door called at Goodwill, and the bag was heavy. And I'm like, "What is this?" And I just ripped it open, and all I seen on it was a Pikachu. And right away, I called David. But then he was high, so he couldn't drive, so he called you.
oh, my
And then,
mom drove him to get it.
oh, yo, was it your mom? Okay,
I
yeah,
think my mom took him to get it. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I don't even know if I was driving then or not. I can't
yeah.
remember to be honest.
But then when he unraveled it, when you guys unraveled it outside of the windows, and it was that Pokemon banner and it said championship, that must be one of the rarest Pokemon pieces. Like nobody's probably ever. Look, David's in the chat, but he can't
He's
join
in the
the
chat.
but he can't join the show. But I will
Next
say
time,
this:
next round, it'll be.
one of the other times I actually got choked up with Pokemon. This was in high school, and we were walking to Video Flicks. And for anyone watching the show, that's an
Oh,
old
Video
that's
Flicks.
that's an old movie rental place back where we live.
Our hometown, yeah, it's long closed up, but oh, special place in all of our hearts.
And they had a box with VHSs for $1. So me and Pete, we were
Oh,
there, and back then I was collecting Stormfront cards under the table. So only like a few people knew that I was buying Pokemon cards because in high school it's embarrassing that people make teasing and stuff, right? But he ended up picking up one of the VHSs of Pokemon. We went back to his house that night. And we had a sleepover, buddy. I tell you not, man. I had from there I hadn't seen an original Pokemon episode since the early 2000s. And
yeah,
once he put that on, and I want to be the very best, and then
yeah,
Mewtwo
dude.
was, buddy, I my eyes were watering. I felt it heavy in my heart, and I'm like, man, I miss this shit.
Well, there was that huge gap where it was like from the original show going like, well, from it just evolving from like past the second gen stuff, from evolving past what we remember as a kid,
Yeah,
and like us not really like until we were like later in our teenage years, not really being able to have access to the old shows on the internet and stuff like that regularly. Like there was a big gap in our lives where it was this huge thing, this show, and it was gone, and we never saw it for like close to a
yeah,
decade. Like,
yeah. But see,
yeah,
that's a thing though with it though. Like even when you grow up, like I was saying earlier, they were such a part of our lives that we couldn't let go of them. And whenever it came back out, it just drew us back in, right?
yeah,
Like, that
yeah,
brings you to like think about it. When Go came out, that was the biggest thing in the world, and then Blink 182 was the biggest thing in the world. Like that's the crazy. It's 99 all over again.
yeah. Remember when Friends was the biggest TV show in the world a couple of years ago too? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
All
pretty
the
wild. Things go just
small
full
things.
circle.
No, but like that's how big this series is, But Pokemon, like
Yeah,
there's there's jumbo jets with Pikachu on it. Like
there's
it's
everything, literally everything, every kind of merchandise, any kind of entertainment venue.
yeah, like when we actually break it down and finally say like, man, like how much these characters are meant to us, like that how much is meant to me. Like I have a tattoo on my arm of
Yeah,
my memory of getting my Game Boy. Like I have a tattoo of the things I love, right? But like it's Pikachu sitting on a Dragon Ball with wearing a Stone Cold Steve Austin vest, giving the people's eyebrow, and he's playing Game Boy. And but for real, just like you were a '90s Attitude Era kid. You loved wrestling and you loved Pokemon, and that was my childhood. So that's my tattoo on my arm. Like those two have meant so much to us over the last 20 so years. And for their journey to finally end, it's really, once you take it in and really dissect it, it's surreal because like we just turned 30 this last month.
yeah,
And like we know that we're getting older, but Ash and Pikachu are not in the show. We're really old now. It feels like
yeah,
we're at that
yeah.
age now when it's like, holy fuck, the things that we loved growing up are now really starting to fade away.
It's
So
true. The wrestlers we love pass away. The shows we love
yeah,
end.
yeah, and it's crazy, but let's be honest here. The Pokemon genre will never die.
No, it'll always be
Yeah.
around some
It's
capacity.
always gonna carry on. And like I personally, I don't think I can watch that final episode. I probably won't watch it.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you if you had looked into it at all, watched a Japanese version of it, or
No.
I've read some synopsis of it, but I think that I'm with you on that. I think that's the most I'm gonna dive into it. I
I don't
haven't
wanna
been
I don't wanna
in the
watch it. It made me
recent one.
it made me sad seeing that one episode when Ash, Brock, and Misty all go their own ways and Ash is crying and shit. I don't wanna watch it,
Yeah.
man.
Well,
I
from
don't
what I
wanna
read,
watch it.
apparently they brought Brock and Misty back, kind of see him off in the last few episodes. Like
Oh
they
wow.
built up from what I read, they built up to the farewell. It seems like it might even be like a 3 episode arc almost.
Wow, that's incredible. No, I don't know if I'll watch it. I honestly don't know if I'll watch it. I probably will end up watching like the final bit of it just to, just to see how it ends and how his adventure finally ends. But for, 20 plus years, man, what a ride we were on. What a ride
Yeah, man.
those two
Yeah.
took us on. And without a shadow of a doubt, he is the biggest anime character of all time. There's no one that can be bigger than Ash and Pikachu. Like
Yeah.
I I don't see it. And maybe
No,
in North America, like there's no one that's bigger than those
nothing's
two.
crossed over. None of the
No,
Japanese stuff's crossed over like Pokemon's crossed
no,
over.
like Dragon Ball Z crossed over big time, but they faded away. Pokemon never
Yeah,
faded.
yeah. Things have hit heights. Power Rangers hit heights over here,
Yeah,
but it's not the same. Not the same sustainability.
yeah, and that like we were just saying, they're never gonna die. They're coming out with live action TV shows. Pokemon Go is still going strong. I know people are mad right now because they're changing prices on stuff, but people are
Still
gonna keep
has
playing it.
still averages almost 80 million players monthly.
Yeah. So it's never gonna die, man. It's an amazing adventure to be a
Yeah,
Pokemon fan. That's how we can
and
put it. Like,
we're wrestling fans, so we know like never say never. Maybe we will see Ash and Pikachu again. Maybe
yeah,
even if it's just a cameo or two.
that's it. Like, it's just fun to come out here though, and to share some of our stories. And we have so much more. And
Yeah,
maybe we'll do a number two of this and get David to get in
yeah.
here. 'Cause I'm
I
telling you
think
guys, David has a crazy collection of Pokemon stuff,
yeah,
man.
it would be
He has
nice to
all the
get him in and even see some of this stuff.
Yeah, he's got the Pokemon Game Boys. He's got a bunch of really, really, really good stuff. So
Yeah,
just it
yeah.
was just great. It was great to come out for the first episode and talk about Pokemon and talk about some funny stories of us, growing up.
Absolutely.
I was in Team Rocket and I didn't know it.
You're just realizing it today. That took this podcast to figure out you were the bad guy. uh, well, this is probably a good place to leave it. So, we'll wrap up with. I'd just like to ask you one question. It's probably the most important of all. What is your favorite Pokemon?
It's always been and always will be Blastoise.
Blastoise. There
I
you
know, I
go.
know, I know. I got Pikachu tattooed on my arm. That's more nostalgia. We all love that little fat rat.
Yeah,
But
I think that's David's favorite.
yeah, for sure, Blastoise, man. A turtle, badass turtle with cannons. Come on now.
That that's
Come
pretty
on.
badass. He's basically an android. He's like a turtle, and he has a mechanism built into his shell.
That's
Like,
it. And the Squirtle
well,
Squad, man. Squirtle Squirt.
yeah. Oh my god, the Squirtle Squad's so cool.
Oh yeah. What about you?
Okay, my favorite is without a doubt Bellsprout. I
I knew you were gonna say it, yo.
Yeah,
Yo,
of course,
Bellsprout's
he's
really
always
good
my
though, man.
favorite. Hey,
Bellsprout was sick. Remember him in the Pokemon in the tournament, and he's fucking Ash up, yo.
that's all I'm saying. He's a sleeper, man. He's like I relate
Lanky.
to him too. He's gangly and skinny and a little awkward. He gets the job done though.
That's it. Well, man, we appreciate everyone that came out and watched, and hopefully everyone that watches it. Um,
Yeah, the
I'll let
intro
you
was a
know.
little choppy, but I think next time, well, it'll be a little bit smoother next time.
Yeah,
This is episode 1. It's a pilot.
off. It's all off the top. So
Yeah, exactly.
I'll let Dan conclude it. Um, I know for sure we'll be back next week. I don't know if we got the topic yet, but
Yeah, I don't
Dan
know. I'm
will
starting
conclude
to
it.
think maybe a part 2 to Pokemon might be not be a bad idea.
Yeah, we could do. We'll think of something, but for sure next
Yeah,
week we'll have an episode.
yeah. So, thanks, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming out to the inaugural Boys podcast, Pokeboyz, episode 1. For just the two of us today. Hopefully, there'll be more of us next week. But for myself and Chris, thank you for coming out, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thanks.